your home for Northeast Ohio soccer. This is Breaking Lanes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Breaking Lanes podcast. I'm your host, Logan Congrove, and joining me here today at Kronis Academy is Mike Nanchoff, assistant coach for the University of Akron Zips, as well as a storied career in Northeast Ohio soccer. Mike, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Mike, I'm super excited to talk to you about a lot of different topics, but let's just start out. Give me a little bit of background about yourself, where you're at now, and how you got here.
Yeah, currently at the University of Akron as a men's soccer assistant coach. Local kid, grew up in North Royalton, Ohio, about 30 minutes north of here, and played my whole club career locally. Come from a big soccer family. Dad ran a youth club, Cleveland Internationals, for 30 plus years. Played for that club, and ultimately ended up going to Walsh Jesuit High School, where I was fortunate to play with some pretty awesome players for a good coach, and John Kistner, who's actually an Akron alum. And here I am, man, fast forward through a pro soccer career and now having the opportunity to coach some soccer at my alma mater.
Talk a little bit about your dad. It's pretty interesting. A lot of people probably don't know your dad was slated to play on the Olympic team that was forfeited due to the protests. Talk about that experience for your father.
Incredible. I think one of the coolest memorabilia items that he has in his basement in his showcase is the Olympic jacket.
Oh, wow.
And cowboy hat, as well as the cowboy belt that he got prior to the Olympics. And unfortunately, it was boycotted. But at the end of the day, he said it was at least destined to be one of the most talented Olympic teams of all time. And although it was gut-wrenching, he couldn't be a part of it. There's still a big part of him that's obviously proud to have at least had the honor of potentially wearing the jersey.
What's your favorite story he's told you about that experience?
Oh, man. He has too many. He has too many. So many stories that I hear are primarily from his NASL days, playing against or with some of the best, with Georgie Best, who he was actually roommates with a handful of times, as well as Pelé, when he first came over to the States, and playing against him when he played for the Cosmos. So some pretty good stories to go around.
That's awesome. So talk about how you got into soccer yourself. You said you played a lot of club soccer growing up in the area. Did you play for your father's club?
I did, yeah. From a young age, I think my first game, I was 7, going on 8 years old, playing up a couple of age groups.
Sure.
At that time, I don't know for sure if it was like U8 all the way to 18. There's maybe a couple age groups that were missing or not quite filled at that point in time. But obviously really fortunate to be involved in a club that had a storied history. Obviously my dad had a passion for what he did for so many years, and obviously wanted to give back and coach. And we were really fortunate to have a handful of talented teams. I still have a lot of friends to this day that I played club with from age 10 all the way up until we kind of went our separate ways playing in college. So a lot of really good memories, a lot of good tournaments, some good wins, some crappy losses. But at the end of the day, it was a good time.
What's your take on the current club scene in the United States right now?
I think it needs work. I think there's just too many politics involved. We can probably sit here for hours on end talking about it. I do think there are some really good platforms to showcase kids and develop them. At the same time, I think we as U.S. soccer need to come up with one single pathway that we feel is best to develop kids' games and get them onto the next level, whether that just be the college pathway or pro after college.
Absolutely. Jumping into your high school career a little bit, you mentioned you got to play for John Kistner at Walsh. You had a lot of good experiences there, a lot of good teammates, but probably the highlight for you would be 2006. You guys went 21-2 overall. Is that correct?
Yeah, man, that was a while ago. It was a really fun year. We had a couple good runs in the years prior to that, and we definitely felt like 06 was probably one of our most talented, hardworking teams. We had really good coach in John Kistner. He named me captain. That was a big honor. And I had some really awesome teammates around me. A lot of guys that I still call best friends to this day. A lot of guys that one of them, in fact, was in my wedding. So it goes way back. Couple assistant coaches at that time, Coach Willie, as well as Joe Petzker.
Joe, still there.
Still there, and instrumental with developing players and just keeping part of my friends, just a kick-ass mood around that program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Joe Petzker, that's funny. I'll have to tell him I saw you today.
Yeah, he's the man.
He takes great care of the field down there.
He does. It's coming from a grass guy, too. I'm all about the lawnmower stripes and all that. I know back in the day, you talk about is like real mower and all that sort of stuff, too. Legend.
What would you say your greatest playing experience was at Walsh, aside from the state championship?
You know, there was one win I remember against CBCA. It was, man, at that time, because we were same district final, I believe it was, before we went on to the regional semis. We had a game at a neutral site at Cleveland State. And I just remember our guys saying if we were able to get past that, because they're a really talented team. They had guys like Ben Spees, for example, who played at Akron for a few years and then had a really good pro career. We always said if we can get past that game, that was it. We're going on to win the whole thing. So that for us was kind of a golden moment of the season.
You just got passed this year as the all-time points leader from last season. Brady Catanza right past you.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? And how did it feel that when you were first the leader, how did it feel they accomplished that? And then how did it feel to pass the torch this year?
Listen, it felt awesome. Right? Records are meant to be broken. I'm really proud of that kid. He's going to go on to have a good career. I think he's committed to...
He's at Ohio Wesleyan. Yep.
Which is big time. Great family. The whole Catanza family are awesome people. Coach Catanza obviously doing a really good job with the team right now, and I'm damn proud of him, man. Keep breaking records.
Absolutely. So you talk about your recruitment a little bit. You're an Akron guy through and through. Your dad played for Akron. You're coaching at Akron now, had a great career at Akron. What was the recruiting process like for you going into college? Did you know that Akron was the only spot? Did you entertain anything else?
Great question. I always knew I wanted to play at Akron. I grew up going to all the games, and I felt like I was comfortable and confident in my ability to play at that level. What I will say is, being completely transparent, I wasn't really all that recruited. At that time, it was Kenny Lola, and man, I just remember begging him to come out and watch me play, and he didn't like my game, which is fine, right? Thankfully, Caleb Porter then comes in a couple of years later, and I remember emailing him saying, hey, I have a really strong interest in playing at Akron. This is who I am. You send the resume. And I actually remember it was no longer than like 2 hours later on a school day, I think my junior year of high school. He had gotten back to me saying, hey, we'd love to have you on a visit. This is kind of how the recruiting process is. And it didn't take long before he had offered me a scholarship as well as the rest of the staff. And it probably took me 24 hours or less to commit to the Zips. And it's best decision I ever made.
Absolutely. What do you think is different about the recruiting process now that you're on the coaching side of it? Obviously, in the age of social media and YouTube, Twitter, everything like that, how is it different from recruiting players now than it was when you were recruited?
Back then, there wasn't a whole lot of video footage. There's not global databases where you can watch kids' games that are streamed. There aren't really ways to access stats that easily, so a lot of it at that time was simply word of mouth. And if you were fortunate enough to have the funds to go and travel and watch those kids play, that's essentially the yes or no moment. You didn't have an opportunity to go watch them 2 or 3 times, whereas now we're pretty fortunate. A lot of it comes down to manpower. But at the end of the day, when you have really good insider information that you can access online, that goes a long ways. But that being said, word of mouth is sometimes the best, really learning the ins and outs of a kid's talent as well as his character as a whole.
So would you say what do you focus most on when you're recruiting for someone now at Akron?
You know, now first criteria I would say is how hardworking is the kid? Is he fully bought into his club team or club academy and what he's trying to do and help that team win? That's our foundation right now. If we can't tick that first box, then we probably won't even waste our time going on to the second one, unless he's messy. Then it's a different story.
Absolutely. So you get to Akron after your recruitment process. What were you feeling like when you first got on campus?
I felt amazing. I think at times felt like I was running into a brick wall because the level was such a big jump. I did feel overall that I was pretty damn prepared coming from a good club environment, but at the end of the day, you're joining a pool of players that are playing at the top clubs around the country, or out of country, as well as U.S. national team kids. And that for me was it was a healthy wake up call. It was humbling. I didn't start one game my whole freshman year. Came off the bench in a handful of games, but didn't have mega minutes. And for me, that was a way to sit back and really hone in on training and just being a damn good training player and getting better in small steps.
What's it like being on a team where everybody is just like you? Everybody came from a team where they were the best player.
There's no better feeling. Okay, there's no better feeling for us now as coaches. We tell recruits when they get on campus, like, if you're not a soccer or football junkie, then Akron's not the place for you. Like, if you want palm trees and paradise, like, by all means, go to Florida, go to the West Coast. They have good programs there. But for us, we're a blue-collar city with a fan base that's pretty bought in to winning and supporting the Zips. And for us, we wouldn't want it any other way. An industrial type of field, blue-collar, hard-working, with a chip on your shoulder type of people. That's who we want coming into our program, and obviously putting that on display.
Akron is a school that catches a lot of flack in a lot of different areas for other sports on campus, random things, not men's soccer. What is it about men's soccer that is so special to the university, and what do you attribute the success to?
Storied history, great people, winners, not only people that cared a lot that when they just played there. We're talking about people and alums who now consider themselves hardcore fans that genuinely care about the program. We had an unbelievable idea from a few of our alums this year to put on a senior dinner for just our senior players. We have 4 of them, and ultimately it allowed our 4 senior players to sit with approximately 8 to 10 of our most prestigious alumni and being able to talk to them about what it means to be an Akron Zip, where they came from, whether it was afar or domestic, and what the program means to them. And that's something that really resonates, and we want that literally trickling down the bloodline of players to come.
Do you feel like it's your responsibility now that you're on staff to kind of carry on that tradition and be a resource to your current players?
I do. Yeah, it's a role that I love. It's a role that I cherish. I remember Jared that was one of the first things he asked me to do, for me to really be hands-on with player development. But obviously supporting kids that are either struggling, that don't necessarily know what it might take to win at this level or to make it next level, better yet. And that's something that I really love being hands-on with. And to be honest, it's something that keeps me going every day. I like being hard on the guys, but at the same time, you got to put your arm around the dude and be like, hey, man, you're good. It's not the end of the world. Keep plugging away.
Absolutely. What was it like playing for Caleb Porter? Obviously a guy that's had a storied career throughout many different levels of soccer, MLS Cup with the Crew. What was it like being brought in by Caleb Porter? And your first season, was it different from playing at the high school level with him?
Yeah, for sure. He's a winner. Caleb's a winner. He was a hell of a coach, still is a hell of a coach. He's a hell of a motivator. And people have things to say about the guy. At the end of the day, I literally have not a bad thing to say about him. Very grateful for everything that he gave me in terms of opportunity, not just at the collegiate level playing at Akron, but he's also a guy that brought me on board for 3 years with the Timbers and was able to win an MLS Cup with him there. He's a guy that you can clash with because he's got such a bold personality. And I, as well as others in moments, might have a bold personality. But at the end of the day, like you said, when you're with somebody that just cares about winning, dude, there's nothing better.
Obviously, really strong perspective from Caleb Porter. You won the MLS Cup with him at the Timbers, which we definitely will touch on. touch on first the 2010 College Cup. Obviously, probably your most memorable season at Akron and one of the university's crowning achievements across the entire campus. What was that experience like leading up to the College Cup?
It was awesome. But the whole year before that was what could have been a really sweet moment. We came up short, losing in the final in PKs against Virginia in 2009. And we had a couple injuries. I wasn't able to play in that Final Four. I pulled my hamstring. One of our other key players was out in midfield. And we came up just short. But that whole year, from that moment, that was mid-December, all the way up until the mid-December in 2010, was just a steady path. We had a nice wake-up call losing against Cleveland State. That was the best thing that ever happened to us because I think we needed to lose. I think we needed that moment to learn how to come together and really bounce back. It was such a fun ride. It by no means was it a roller coaster because it was mainly climbing.
Sure.
But at the same time, what a great group of guys, great group of players, all dudes that just want to win.
Talk about the final game itself. What was it like when the final whistle blew and you guys knew that you just brought a national championship to Akron?
Oh, it's nothing sweeter, man. It was awesome. It was everything that we wanted. And I mean, I'm biased. I'm a local guy. I consider myself an Akron boy. But at the same time, when you have guys that grew up really far away from Akron and knew how much it meant to our supporters and our community and the city, that was the best feeling in the world. Even sweeter than winning a MLS Cup.
You get out of college soccer, you win the College Cup, and you're starting to think about going pro. What were the conversations like with Coach Porter about that when you were kind of considering what to do next?
Back then, man, I'm sure there was a few other guys in our team because we had so many guys get drafted that probably knew for sure if it was a certainty. I didn't know for sure if it was. I was just so focused on winning, staying healthy, and finishing strong that I kind of just told myself, whatever happens, happens. And when that conversation did happen, it all happened really, really quickly. I mean, we won the final. The president allowed us one more night to party there in Santa Barbara at the time. And when we came back, we were pretty much already meeting with player agents to see who we were most comfortable signing with and what the outlook was. And the next thing you know, a couple weeks later, the draft happens. And I would say the saddest part was not really being able to celebrate that championship with school because we all went our separate ways to different cities around the league. What was the super draft like? Awesome. It was awesome. whole family was there. It was a little nerve-wracking. I was one of the more fortunate ones. I signed a Generation Adidas deal, so I at least had a contract on the table, regardless of what team I went to. But still, I had no clue where I was going. And I remember my agent at the time came up to me before the 8th pick and was like, "Hey, you're going to Vancouver." And I was like, I knew where it was, but I really didn't realize how far it was sitting in the Pacific Ocean. But it was surreal. It was awesome. What was the phone call like? You get the call from Vancouver, obviously very excited. What were you feeling? Oh, man, just elated. It was just like emotions just kind of come crashing on you because you have so many memories that get you to that point. You have so many people that helped you along the way. Like, it's a whirlwind, man, but in the best way possible. So you get drafted to Vancouver, you get out there. What was the transition like from the city of Akron to the city of Vancouver? I mean, mountains, Pacific Ocean, sandy beaches, and all that. It's a little different. Beautiful city, great people. A little bit different living in Canada, but by no means was it a culture shock or anything like that. Great organization. They're definitely an organization that is kind of figuring things out with their leap from USL into the MLS. But at the same time, so thankful. I'm rooting for them. At the end of the day, they're the one that really gave me a chance. What was the transition like from the college level to the professional level? Fast. Lightning fast. Trainings are lightning fast. I do know that Akron and college prepared me, but at the same time, there's a whole different level of intensity and personality, and you feel that it's more of a job. It's less playing with your boys and going to class and playing video games afterwards. You're playing against guys and with guys that are trying to support their families.
What was it like getting in your first game in Vancouver and realizing that this is a real thing for you?
It was definitely real. First ever game, first start was at Colorado Rapids, and I remember one of our veterans, his name was Pete V, a Greek guy. Yeah, he was a legend in the league, 10 plus years, and he just told me, hey man, good luck running at altitude in Colorado. Like, the field is massive, 120 by 80. You're going up against one of the most fit right fullbacks in the country, but don't worry, I have your back. And we had just signed another left back there who was playing behind me for that game, and he was like, hey, young buck, don't worry about it. Let's grind together. And that makes you feel a hell of a lot better. You can take a breath.
Did you feel like training throughout all of your career up to that point had like trained you to be in that position?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's any real specific moment that can train you for that exact one, but you just have to tell yourself, hey, like, I've worked this hard for this. It's time to capitalize. Just go for it.
You end up with the Timbers at some point, which you said was with Caleb Porter. Talk about that experience. How did Caleb Porter come back to you and say, come play for us in Portland?
You know, I was kind of desperate at the time. I knew that Vancouver was going to release me. My 2-year contract was coming up to an end. They weren't going to pick it up. And I remember my agent at the time, his name was Rich, he had reached out to Caleb saying, hey, Michael's going to be a free agent, if you will. Do you have any interest bringing him on board? And he said, hey, listen, this is going to be my first year with the Portland Timbers. I want to bring him on trial. I know what he can do, but I can't guarantee anything in terms of contract. That's not his job, right? It's the GM. And I'm very fortunate. He brought me into preseason. I was there with the team for just over a month, and fortunately, I got signed.
Was it different playing for Caleb in the MLS than it was in college?
You know, man, people ask that all the time. I'd like to say no, because the demands and just the winning mentality never changed. And he cared, right, in both environments, not just about the team, but obviously about me. But at the same time, like, it's different, man. You're talking to guys that are making millions of dollars, and to be able to see him kind of in that environment was different, as opposed to coaching a kid that was 17 or 18 years old coming in as like a freshman, you know?
Did you like playing in the MLS with Caleb more, or do you have more fond memories in college?
They're so different. They're so different. I tell everybody I had more fun memories in college because you're playing with your boys, and the stress of just going to class and then worrying about being a student athlete and winning, it's a whole lot different than being in a really high pressure environment, you know, living year to year, trying to earn contract after contract. So it's different. The emotions are completely different.
Talk about the experience winning the MLS Cup. You mentioned that it might not even have been as sweet as a College Cup, but maybe what's different and what led up to winning the MLS Cup with Portland?
You know, it was a hell of an achievement. I loved it. The team obviously was doing something right. At the end of the day, in college, when you're winning with a team, you probably, at least I am, I'll speak for myself, you're a heck of a lot more likely to keep close connections and close tabs on guys that you played with, as opposed to in the pros, like, you can be on to the next team year after year. And like I said, it's more of a business. But obviously money's good too, so you got to take that.
What was it like when you won the cup? Were you with your teammates all excited? How was the experience on the field?
Yeah, good party. Yeah, it was a good party. Experience on the field was awesome. It was actually in Columbus. My whole family, a lot of friends were there, probably over 25 or so people.
Awesome.
So being able to experience that with all of them, really close to home, about the closest that I can get. Being in the MLS was awesome. Great time.
You still have your ring?
I do. I do. I had misplaced it for a while.
Really?
It's weird. Yeah, I got friends that they mess with me all the time, and they're like, dude, how do you not care about like things and medals and all that? It's just, I don't know. But it's a darn looking good ring for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about transitioning into coaching for you. You come on to Akron in 2019. What were conversations like with Jared on that? Jared took over for Caleb, obviously, after being a long tenured assistant, and you kind of step into that role in 2019. What were those conversations like coming back to Akron?
You know, I remember calling Jared. I was like just starting to run out of steam playing. At that time, I was with Tampa Bay with the Rowdies, and I picked up the phone and called and said, hey, I really want to get involved in coaching. Working at Akron would obviously be a dream, but didn't know for sure if it was a possibility. At that moment, he really didn't have anything. He had offered if I wanted to come back as a grad assistant, if you will. Unfortunately, no money in that, so I couldn't relocate my wife at the time.
Right.
And move up here. So I kind of bought another year and said, listen, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to grind for one more season in the pros, and then when it's time, it's time. And when I got the call, Jared called, said, hey, we got one opening. The assistant coaching position is yours if you want it. And I said, let me call my wife. I'm going to call my parents, tell them what an opportunity I have. And it was probably less than an hour before I called them back and accepted the job. So really grateful.
What was it like getting back on campus as a coach?
Awesome, but different. There's a lot that changed, but at the same time, not a whole lot, because there were still a lot of familiar faces that worked at the university from when I was there. But you learn very quickly. You go from, as a player, literally just taking care of yourself for good selfish reasons, to then taking care of like 28 to 30 knuckleheads. They're off-student athletes, so it's very different.
Talk about the era of the transfer portal. That's obviously something that was not a thing when you were playing in college. Now it's everything in college sports, not just soccer. How do you guys utilize the transfer portal at Akron, and do you think that it has changed the landscape of college sports?
Well, it's definitely changed the landscape across all sports. I think it's a blessing. I think it's a burden. I think if there's a way for a player to have a second chance, a second opportunity, because it's maybe just not the right fit for them in their current home, I think it's a great thing. But I do think it's unfortunately an easy cop-out for kids to be like, man, I don't want to stick it out. I don't want to keep grinding. I want to just play now. And to a certain point, you have to respect that. But at the same time, as coaches, as managers, you want to be able to manage a team for 3 to 4 years, right? Now it's like, it's not really a 4-year cycle. You'd be really lucky if it's a 4-year cycle of players. A lot of times it's 1 or 2 because kids just want to jump ship. And like I said, it can be a blessing, but at the same time, it can be a burden because you can't really build a whole lot of continuity.
Do you view it harder, speaking on the continuity, do you think it's harder to build relationships with certain players because of the risk of maybe entering the portal at some point?
Yes. Yes and no. I'll say there is one way we're thankful for the transfer portal. Like, for example, we had Emil Jaskalainen last year, 23 goals. Thankfully, for someone like him, he had played against us 2 years ago with Long Island University. And I would say we beat him convincingly, but at the same time, he loved the way that we played. He got to play on our field. He experienced that. And he had one more year, and at that time, when he went in the portal, his coaching staff, as disappointed as they were still grateful for him to come to a big conference, play in the Big East, and have a really good platform.
Talk about that transition a little bit. You've been a part of the transition from men's soccer going from the MAC to the Big East. The MAC stopped sponsoring men's soccer, and you guys had to make a decision. What was that like in conversations with Jared and the university and athletics, what you guys were going to do?
I mean, it was a big-time move. A lot of great memories in the MAC. A lot of trophies, good times. It was a great move for us, great transition. It's been a massive recruiting tool, being added as the 12th team in the Big East. Ideally, we've had recruits call and are almost called back and be like, hey, you're playing in a pretty kick-ass conference. Can we start these conversations again? And we're really thankful. It's been a really professional, well-rounded conference. A lot of respect for a lot of coaches around the whole league. And I think at times previous conference, you could have moments of almost jealousy where you don't want to back a coach up or back up a program. You almost feel like going behind their back and backstabbing them. Whereas the Big East, we've been really fortunate to have other coaches be like, hey, welcome to the conference. We've been a really good advocate for you. You guys are winning games, and you guys are obviously representing this conference well. And that means a lot because, the biggest word is there, and that's respect.
For Akron, since you've been there as a player and now a coach and in 2 different conferences, Akron has never played against Kent in a men's soccer game because Kent doesn't sponsor it. So a question for you is, who do you view Akron's primary rivals as?
Ohio State. Yeah, Ohio State for sure. Listen, it's an in-state rival. They got us last year. They had a really good Final Four team, and we were happy to get some revenge this year, winning 2-0 at their place. It's a really good game. It's an easy one. It's easy on the budget. We can almost go same day if you want, and that helps. So our school loves that too. At the end of the day, like in other sports, you could look at Ohio State and be like, man, jeez, look at their football team. But at the same time, when you look at soccer and soccer alike, it's a pretty testy tradition for sure.
So jumping into this season a little bit, you're very high in the rankings. You've been 3, you've been 8. You just beat St. Louis 3-0, big upset. They were sitting at 8. What's special about this team you have this year?
Hardworking, man. Hardworking. We get a lot of feedback from alums and supporters saying, hey, and this is no disrespect to anyone on our team. They're like, we don't know if you have that, elite star-studded player, but you have a group of guys that are just grinding and working their tails off for one another. And there's no greater compliment than that. You can always work with a team on a day-to-day basis that is going to put in a shift and grind. And that's exactly what they did. And it was a really nice bounce-back game against St. Louis on national TV, who was a really good opponent. Good staff there, good people. Even after the game, we're talking about pros and cons of the game, strengths and weaknesses, and we're only going to get better from that.
What would you say some of the big morals of Akron soccer are? You mentioned your team this year is really hardworking, grinding. Akron is a blue-collar city, like you mentioned. What would you say when you guys talk to your players? What are the morals and expectations of Akron soccer?
Non-negotiables are hard work every day. Off the field, it's maintaining a high academic standard. And the reality is we just don't want any shitheads in the program, right? There's a short leash for guys that aren't fully bought in. It's not a one and done or, hey, it's my way or the highway. No, it's look at what's worked all of these years, going back to 1954. Let's stick with the recipe and do this together.
One thing you guys do that's really cool that I picked up on, I used to be Zippy, so they would send Zippy down into your guys' team room under the bleachers, and I looked up on the wall, and there were all these posters across the wall with different goals that you guys were trying to reach, and all the teams had signed them. Who started the goal boards in your team room under the bleachers? Which coach was it? Do you know? And how has it helped continue your traditions?
Yeah, good question. I don't know 100% if it was before Caleb's time, but I'm pretty confident saying that was Caleb and Jared, obviously, when he first came on the staff in 2007. And that's something that's kept us honest, right? We don't look at not achieving one of those goals as a huge failure of the season, because the reality is, we've had seasons like, for example, 2010, where you go and you win the national championship, but if you're not checking that, hey, I didn't win every single game at home type of goal, you don't see it as a failure, right? Those are mini blocks that you're trying to step on to get to the big prize.
Explain what the goal boards are. What do you guys put on them, and what goes into deciding what your goals for the season are?
Pretty much the same. We have undefeated at home. We have winning the Big East regular season, winning the Big East tournament championship, as well as national championship. And that's something that is non-negotiable. That's something that we'll maintain and try and achieve every single year.
What do you think when you guys are in team meetings and leading up to bigger games? What do you think is going through all of your players' heads about staying cohesive and going out there and accomplishing those goals?
I think it's a telltale sign when you're in the locker room and you're doing a video session, for example. You can tell by kids' body language really easily. They're completely upright, leaning forward, looking at the screen, able to take constructive criticism, or even better yet, call out another teammate in the moment for good reason, right? It's not just to belittle them, it's to help the team. And we've had more and more of that this season than, to be honest, I've had since at least coming back as a coach in 2019. And I love that. It's something I crave. It's something we encourage, having tough conversations. And it's big time for any team in any sport.
You guys have a lot of players that have worked their way up that are seeing minutes this year. Talk about that type of mentality as a player. Maybe you come in as a freshman. A good example for me is Stefan. Doesn't play a lot his first couple of years. Now he's starting almost every game. How do you guys build that mentality for a player throughout their time at Akron?
Well, first, it's a credit to someone like Stefan for wearing the Akron jersey with such pride. I always say it's really important to have a local bloodline in the program. Guys like Stefan Dobrivich, guys like Jack Rome, for example. Steph, for example, is someone that, although I feel like he could have cracked out and really broke out last season, at times it was somewhat difficult. You had guys like Dyson Clapier, you had guys like Malik Henry who were mainstays on the wing. Steph right now has stuck it out, grinded his way into the lineup, and now has proven he can be one of, if not one of the best players in college soccer. But that's a testament to his mentality.
You guys have had guys like Dyson, Malik, Emil. You've played in the professional level. When you have players now on your roster as a coach that are looking to go at the professional level, what type of advice do you give them?
Be patient, right? At the end of the day, we've had some of the best players come through this program and not be starters year one. Buy their time. Earn their time. Be patient. And then when the time is right, the time is right. But at the end of the day, our main message to the players is it'd be very difficult to achieve or reach the professional level without having collective success and winning championships.
So not to put you on the spot, if you could pinpoint one player throughout your time at Akron that you have just really enjoyed coaching, who would it be and why?
Oh, man, there's a lot. There's a lot. You know what? This is going to be very rare for me to do because there's a lot of guys out there that aren't field players. We call them goalkeepers. Mm-hmm. And I think Mitch Budler is one of the best, if not the best, goalkeepers in college soccer. I remember even when he wasn't playing year one, because I think at that time he was playing behind Will Meyer, he has grinded. He has stuck with the process. He has took tough criticism. And my gosh, there's a reason he was Big East goalkeeper of the year last year. And we have some really high hopes for him this year. And unfortunately for me, I'm starting to go broke because I have a Chipotle bet with him every single time he gets a shutout. So he just got a 20-pound burrito yesterday or something, as he said.
What's it like training as a goalkeeper at Akron? Obviously, super high level. You've got guys like Mitch Butler, Will Meyer that have all come through the program. What's it like being a goalkeeper at the University of Akron, and how is it? Is it more difficult to work your way into that position?
It is. It is. One cool example, Evan Bush. Mm-hmm. Evan Bush, who's now playing with the Columbus Crew, one of the hardest working guys that I've ever known. He came to the game against St. Louis. He actually drove up with Patrick Schulte, the Crew goalkeeper. Excuse me. And he came into the team room after the game because he drove up to support us. And his message to the team was the same as coaches had for the players. Stick with the process. You got a coaching staff that knows what they're doing. They're comfortable with this team. They know if you don't want to respect them when they say, hey, do this, respect them when they say, man, don't do that. That's not how it's done next level. So for guys like Evan Bush to be able to mentor someone like Mitch Budler, it's massive. Why wouldn't you want to hear from somebody that's been there, done that, especially as a pro player?
Talking a little bit more about Akron soccer as a whole, Akron has widely been considered to have some of the best facilities, the best field in the country. How do you guys take pride in that?
Take a lot of pride. Grass field is beautiful. Our grounds crew does a heck of a job. We're really lucky to have the amenities like the indoor field house. They put close to $1 million in our weight room with all sorts of new technology. It's a wow moment when we get recruits on campus. They understand when they see these top-class facilities, they know that we mean business and that we want to win.
Talk about the rowdies. They're always behind the goal, shouting at the other team's goalie. How does that help you in a game?
It's massive. You know the support is there. Quiet games are the worst games. And when you're at home and you got some rowdies talking smack to the opposition goalkeeper, there's nothing sweeter. We love it.
There's not a whole lot of fields around that's the type of position that you can put your fans in. That I've always found that to be so funny that I think my favorite chant that they do is I love that they give out the rosters to fans that come in, because they always just start chanting for the backup goalie just to get in the guy's head. I think it's awesome.
Me too.
So continuing with this season a little bit more, obviously you mentioned the expectations that are on the goal board. What are some key games that you guys are looking forward to coming up?
Next one, we're looking for our first win in the Big East this season. And last year, we had our first win in the Big East against Butler, which was a 4-3 game. And this is a in-division opponent, and we're looking for our first 3 points on the board. No bigger game than the next one, my friend.
When you guys transition into Big East tournament play towards the end of the season, how do training sessions change, or do they?
It all depends on how much time you have in between games. Games roll around faster than you'd ever want as a coach, but that's just the college game. When you have 2 days or 3 at most in between games, a lot of that is just recovery. Guys that have played mega minutes, you would think by the end of the year they have a pretty darn good idea of what they're trying to do,
sir,
and what their identity is or what their role is on the team. But at the end of the day, you're always trying to keep that next tier ready to go, because you have no idea when those names are going to be called on. And that's our message to those guys every day.
When you guys go into scheduling your non-conference opponents each year, what do you guys look for in a non-conference opponent? Obviously, you want to challenge yourself, but you don't want to do too much. What is your level of play that you're looking for in non-conference opponents?
We're looking for the best games out of conference. We know Big East is strong, but at the end of the day, when you have the flexibility to schedule whomever you want, we want the top-ranked opponents. We want top RPI opponents that ultimately help your resume when push comes to shove with the NCAA committee. It's big time. We have to do that.
Another big thing to touch on that's new, not necessarily new in the world of sports right now, but it's newer, is NIL. How do you guys address NIL? Obviously, you could talk all day about major football programs, major basketball programs. It's a little bit different at the soccer level, but obviously being a top 10 program consistently, it is something that you guys probably touch on. How do you guys talk to recruits about the NIL process?
It's not a huge conversation. I don't think it's really attacked men's soccer all that much, for good or for bad. I don't know. But we just tell our guys this: hey, listen, if somebody wants to use your name, image, or likeness, by all means, right? You've earned that right to get compensated. As long as it falls within compliant lines, then we're all for it. We have a player on our team who's sponsored by Phoenix Energy Drink or THX Energy Drink. Shout out for them. I'm not endorsed by him, but I tried it. It's pretty good. And I guess they compensate him for helping to endorse their product. So go for it, man.
Off-topic question. Obviously, Akron is a Nike school. Switched from Adidas a few years back. Over your time playing, coaching, what is your brand of choice for soccer?
I've always liked Adidas. I was used to Adidas. I like their shoes, but Nike's got some pretty good swag. We're pretty lucky with how well they take care of us as a school, for sure. But it's funny. I mean, people were so used to Adidas being Akron that, like, when they see me rolling around with an Akron top, they're like, just doesn't seem right. But you get used to it.
What do you guys use Nike as a recruiting tool? Obviously, Nike pops to kids nowadays. Mm-hmm. Does that help you guys in saying, hey, we're a Nike school?
It does. Yeah, I think it's obviously an incredible global brand. They obviously have really good marketing, and they make some pretty good footwear. I think it's a little different in my time. I liked either the all-white boot, all leather, or all black, right? There wasn't the pinks or the reds or the blues, but they offer that, and the kids love it, man. We try and give them a choice as much as possible. At the end of the day, we want them to express themselves and express their personality. So it helps, for sure.
So before we get ready to close out, transitioning into what you're doing now playing-wise, I hear you're still playing in some rec leagues. I hear you're quite the intense player in the rec leagues. Talk about, is it fun to play as an adult still?
It's fun. Yeah, I'm good with it, man. I am. I had my time, played the most competitive soccer that I could, and I like to be able to at least express myself one day a week and get out there and stir things up. But at the same time, I look at it from a glass half full approach. I'm like, I got a little 1-year-old that's ready to start walking at any moment. I'm like, man, I don't feel like busting my ankle and hobbling around on crutches. But it's still fun, and it's more of a community thing. Go play some games, go have a couple beers afterwards.
How do you balance being a new father and being a coach at the collegiate level?
Lose sleep, accept that. Try and catch up on sleep when you hit the road. But it also makes you work a little bit hard because, you have to support that much more at home and take care of the family. I love it.
You see soccer in their future?
Absolutely. Yeah, the ball's been glued to his left foot. I just want him to play sports.
Sure.
His kid, my kid, his name is Milo. Sports teach a lot of lessons, and whatever that may be, if he experiences some of that, I'm a happy guy.
Absolutely. Your jersey is in the trophy case at Walsh Jesuit High School. I've seen it a couple of times. It's one of 4 when you walk down the hallways. What does that mean to you to see it in the trophy case anytime you're there?
It's special. I had a lot of good memories just ripping through my mind when I was there for the Hall of Fame banquet. Mm-hmm. And, man, I'm with some greats. I think Mike Vrabel is up there. Mike Vrabel is one of the honorary speakers at our Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Special. It's an honor.
You've been a part of 2 pretty strong communities, whether it's Walsh Jesuit, Akron. How does it feel that throughout your time you've been able to be just involved in that type of stuff?
Lucky, man. To be able to be involved in programs that care a lot about winning and feeling like you're able to give back on the field, doing something that I love, it's an amazing feeling. Nothing better.
And before we get ready to close out, what would you say your advice to any player trying to make it at the next level, whether it's college, whether it's going pro somewhere, whether it's coming from D2 to D1? What is your advice to any player in the country right now?
No matter what the level is, whether you're a club player or you're not going on to play college and you just want to end with your senior year, listen, embrace both the good, embrace the bad. Because at the end of the day, sometimes the bad experience is what makes you the best. And if I were to tell my 14-year-old self that when I was a freshman going into high school, I think I'd be even better off.
And last question for you. What would you say your favorite Coach Embick quote is?
He's got a few, but there's one that always cracks me up going back to when I was a player, and that was, you got to check your shoulder. And that's something that I find myself repeating to players right now, so clearly it's been ingrained in my memory.
Is Coach Embick normally soft-spoken, or is he a pretty out-loud coach?
I think a lot of people don't realize how funny the dude is. He's super low-key funny with a little witty sense of humor. He's not the most vocal, yelling, cheerleading type, but that's why he has guys like me and Jared Coppinger sometimes be the voice, and we're lucky. He gives us free reign to kind of do what we want and get our message across to our players.
Last thing for you, I like to give everybody that's been on a chance to thank anyone that they want across their soccer journey. Floor is yours.
Hey, thank you, soccer, first and foremost, for giving me the opportunity. I love the game. It's given so much to me. But this will make my father-in-law's day. Thanks for driving all the way from Portland, Oregon. You're crazy. Drove 3,000 miles just to make it on my birthday a couple days ago. And we're 8-0 with you in the crowd. So keep it going.
That's awesome. Mike, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you.
And this has been Breaking Lanes once again, produced by Robby Vallarelli and the Visual Kingdom, sponsored by Kronis Academy, as well as Dan Groen, our executive producer. Mike, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Absolutely. Great job. Have you signed? Everybody.
I got a quick question for you. Yeah. When you said you were talking about your son, ball being glued to his left foot.
Yeah.
Was that your doing, or is he naturally left-footed?
I think it might be my doing.
A little bit. It's a smart move for sure.
Yeah. The left foot. It's a rare commodity.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll go right over here. Is that good?
Anywhere.